really excited to be with you all today. And so what is the session? So the purpose of this is to help and equip your teams with the essential strategies and tools that you need to actually run a political fundraising campaign with a tight deadline. We know that we are getting very close to the November 5th date here in the US, but we also know that there's a lot of campaigns, municipal campaigns in particular, coming up, and I want to make sure that you have the resources that you need to actually impact your efforts for campaigning, fundraising throughout the rest of this year and into 25. So with that, I will kick it over to Jared to give us a bit of information on what the GoodParty is, so we can get started.
It's great to meet everyone. I'll give you a quick note on myself here. My name is Jared Alper. I'm GoodParty's GoodParty.org's political director. And I've spent my career over the last 10 plus years running campaigns. First within the two-party system. Like many people, I was looking to come in from a democracy reform angle, but thought that it was only possible to elect good people from within one of the two political parties. Worked for members of both major political parties, and very quickly saw that it was not a system set up for success. Had my sort of I'm out of this system in a moment, and towards the end of the 2016 election cycle, and just realized that the lesser of two evils at the end of the day was still an evil that I couldn't tolerate or really consider voting for anymore. Started running independent campaigns. I've run races for offices like the United States Senate, US House of Representatives, all the way down, like you, Sorcha, school board seats across the country, always trying to help provide competitive alternatives to our political system. And found the GoodParty, at the time the GoodParty, now GoodParty.org. In 2020, we've been working ever since to build technology that can really empower candidates who are taking the bold step to run outside of the two-party dynamic, who are people-powered, independent, and anti-corruption candidates, and who can represent that meaningful change, leveraging technology as sort of the great equalizer in our society to change our political system for the better. I do have some information on goodparty.org. I'll quickly share my screen and just walk through a bit about kind of how we got founded and what we're all about here. A couple of quick slides, nothing too crazy. Hope everyone can see my screen. I will look to see if that's the case, because it doesn't look like it. Sorcha, are we good here?
We are good, yeah. If you want to jump into slideshow mode.
So quickly, just what is goodparty.org and what are we about? Our mission as an organization is to make people matter more than money in our democracy. That is obviously, unfortunately, not the case in our status quo right now. And we're leveraging technology, people, resources to try and help chip away at the system and provide competitive alternatives that really do put people first. And so how do we do that? We do it a variety of ways, but ultimately it's about leveling the playing field in our political system. We offer free technology, free tools, training, a sense of community, and support to the candidates and the people who want to support those candidates who are running against sort of the wind and trying to challenge either the Democrats or Republicans, oftentimes both, for elections, but especially local elections all around the country. And we do that and make these tools available for free with only a few caveats, but they're important, right? We're trying to help support candidates who are running outside of the system in all of its shapes and forms. We ask our candidates to adhere to three pretty simple and standard things that we believe are the critical drivers of building a better political system. And that is that candidates are independent of the two major political parties and the moneyed interests that are behind them, that they pledge to raise their resources. We'll talk about that a lot tonight, and how to do that from real individuals as opposed to the special interest groups and the big and powerful, whether it's unions or businesses that oftentimes are putting in $1 and hoping to get out quite a few more. And are committed to anti-corruption. I'll try not to talk about the state of New York City where I live, though we'll be getting into that a little bit too. But it's particularly top of mind as we can see it all over the country. There are political leaders who take an oath of office to serve, but are not acting transparently or with integrity, and oftentimes are looking to put their interests before their communities. The good thing, I think, for all of us who are on this call, there is a state of change in the air. I think people are finally getting fed up, especially young people, with the status quo in our political system and are motivated to change it. When we started with this work, we really began kicking it off in 2022, and we found a few things that suggest to us that technology can be this big driver. And sometimes that's sort of self-explanatory, but until you get into the weeds and talk to candidates, it's a thing that you don't really realize how much of an impact you could make just by providing people tools and trainings that oftentimes the two parties package together and give to their candidates. Community and volunteer and support, people who can come in and take those candidates and help get them across the finish line, and sort of the narrative barrier, the structural advantages that the parties have from being around for a really long time that convince people that it's not possible for an independent to have success. We think we can change that all and really level the playing field so that independent candidates can stop feeling like they're running uphill and actually run competitive campaigns. And the way that we do that, this is not a violent weapon. It's actually a crowbar to create leverage, which has been done many, many times over, revolutionizing industries through technology. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think most of us, if not all of us, are familiar with all of the different ways technology has changed our society. And our view is that politics is ripe for that. So we have a few different tool offerings that we'll talk about tonight. The first is an AI tool that we've created that helps provide the best practices and also the templates for someone who's never run before to be able to run a competitive campaign, whether that's fundraising collateral, door knocking scripts, text message campaigns. This AI is a co-pilot that can really drive initiatives and help candidates who've never done any of this before go from 0 to 80, even maybe 100% done with a click of a button. We also provide access to the data. It's a big piece of this puzzle. Candidates require data to be able to get targeted and be able to track their progress. By using goodparty.org's pro features, you're able to get access to the information that you need to get really targeted on getting out the vote. We do run peer-to-peer message campaigns. We'll talk about that a little bit. It's one of the many tactics that are commonly used to be able to help people understand who their voters are and how to reach them. And through a partnership with a program called eCanvasser, we're making door knocking tools available as well. In addition, we've built a community of over 2,000 people who are eager to plug in and help support these candidates. And this is a community that also helps, pick these candidates up when they're down, provide them guidance and training on how to connect with their constituents and achieve their goals. And lastly, you see my face in the corner here. Our team makes ourselves available. We understand that running for office and running a campaign is a pretty extreme endeavor. It's not easy, and we try to make ourselves available to help provide candidates the guidance that they need. Lastly, you'll see here that there's a couple of different features. Most of this stuff we try and package at goodparty.org. We try and do everything for as close to free as it can possibly be. There are things as part of our pro options that we have to charge something nominal for. That's the data and the text messaging. But the whole point of our company is to show that with these technologies and with these resources, you can have success. We started working with candidates in earnest last year. Started with 11 candidates winning elections across the country in 2023. We have candidates this year. We've certainly surpassed the 11 wins and the hundreds or so candidates who are running. We're up to, at last count, over 3,800 candidates running this year and have well exceeded over 250 wins. So we're really excited. Obviously, we're in the home stretch here. I will take my screen share down and kick it over to you, Jordan, to talk a little bit about NationBuilder. But more than anything, we're happy to be here tonight to be working with you guys to help the candidates on this call and who might be watching in the home stretch of their races.
I think I'm going to actually steal the mic from Jordan, maybe. Is that, yeah, okay, cool. So what the hell is NationBuilder? Firstly, thank you, Jared. That was great. NationBuilder. Firstly, actually, I will just say we're really excited to be partnering with GoodParty, the work that you're doing across the board and engaging across the political spectrum here in the States. And so NationBuilder is the world's leading platform for advocacy and political campaigns. We were founded by organizers for organizers with the belief that everyone can lead. And truly, we set out with this understanding of democratic infrastructure. And there's a lot of bells and whistles that you need to run a campaign. And Jared went through kind of some of the core components of that. But at the kind of center point of a lot of campaigns is your CRM, the way in which you can actually manage your voters, manage your donors, understand all of the different individuals that are interacting with your campaign. And NationBuilder gives that as a core part of our product But when we think about our kind of North Star, why did we start? We are a very, very mission driven company. And the premise always with Nation Builder is that we are fiercely, fiercely nonpartisan, and everyone deserves the right and access to the technology that allows people to win and lead. And so we do that through grounding of our theory of change. And we know that solving today's biggest challenges is not just about one leader, it's about millions. And Nation Builder exists to make it possible for anyone to easily mobilize their community and lead them to action. Our theory of change is put into practice every single day with each of our customers, driving to create the change that they actually desire to see in the world. So, to ensure that we're actually focused on that, we lean in hard to our vision and mission with all of our interactions, from product development to supporting our customers. So, what is that? It is to make it possible for anyone, anywhere to take action, lead their community, start an organization, a campaign, a business, a movement. It's why Nation Builder exists, and it's the reason I show up every day to do the work that I do. And so, just to kind of go through what our impact was in this past year, I can't believe we're actually coming to the close of 24. But you can see here, this is pretty astounding in terms of the work that our customers were doing every single day in driving action and driving the change that they wanted to see in the world, from raising, over $470 million in donations to sending 2.3 billion emails and 16.3 million texts. The impact that our customers had was able to equip them to ultimately create the change that they wanted to see in the world with our infrastructure. So, what is that infrastructure? Our tools are designed to help you build your community. And so, like I said at the top, the first and most important part of that are your people, your database, the folks that you are actively engaging with. And we know that our customers need to continuously grow, scale, and build their community. And our database is designed and is the cornerstone of how you interact with our platform. Secondly, we have a CMS. This is our content management system, and this is the core kind of difference to other content management platforms that are out there. Here is Nation Builder's content management system is designed for action specifically. So we have over 20 different page types or action types. So think if you want to have a petition or an event page or a volunteer page, those are all pre-built with the things that you actually need to get that action across the line. We have a communication suite. This is where you're able to send emails and text messages, and we'll go through that in a little bit more detail later on today. Excuse me. And fundraising and donations. This is for a lot of campaigns, kind of the lifeline or the needs that you have to exist, to actually go and knock on doors, to run campaign ads, to host fundraisers, etc. And so within Nation Builder software, you have the ability to raise donations using our payment processor, which is built in partnership with Stripe. And last but definitely not least is advocacy actions. And so being able to equip your community to actually contact lawmakers or specific stakeholders is a really key part of actually driving folks to action. And before I hand this back over to Jared and Jordan, one of my favorite kind of customer stories, there's thousands over the years, but is Randy Rouse, who ran for mayor of Santa Barbara. And won with 39% of the vote using all of the Nation Builder platform. So using the website there to engage with his voters, did a bunch of different events. And you can see here that recruited donations of over 300K. It's a massive amount for a small race in Santa Barbara, and really, really impressive. And just the breadth of the product that he was able to use. And you can see here from his campaign manager speaking specifically to being able to get that holistic 360 view of your voter, whether or not they're a donor or a volunteer or an event attendee, and then being able to communicate with them really intentionally based on what they've done and the actions they've taken. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Jared and Jordan. Take us away for the rest of the content.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sorsha. And again, thank you, Jared, as well. Really appreciate, these conversations that we had. And, just diving a little bit between, kind of the work that Nation Builder is able to do and also the GoodParty.org. And right now, Jared and I are kind of going to open this up to more of a little bit of a conversation specifically focusing along the lines of last minute fundraising. We know we're kind of getting down towards the nitty and gritty. We're about a month away from campaign election season kind of coming to an end. And I think a big question that we come about and come to around this time of every campaign cycle is, when is last minute? When is it too late to take these different actions, to host fundraisers, to reach out to these different individuals? So I think, Jared, I'd love to ask you, and I'm happy to be able to talk to this as well, but love to learn, in your own mind, when is too late, and when is last minute in these different campaigns, for you leading up to that November 5th deadline of election day. Oh, I believe you are muted, Jared.
Uh, we're definitely in the home stretch, right? I generally look at campaigns as sort of a 3 cycle exercise where once you get through Labor Day, you're in that last period of time where it's no longer sort of building and trying to experiment and learn, about your community or why you're running and be able to introduce yourself. But you're really in an 8 to 12 week sprint to the finish to be able to get your message out in front of voters, get the last resources that you need taken care of, and then execute on all of the things that you've been building towards to close out the campaign really strong, right? A campaign is one of those, is I think a unique entity in that no matter success nor failure, on November 5th this year, the campaigns are coming to an end and it's non-negotiable. So I look at Labor Day as sort of the moment that the calendar flips. And it's a moment to be able to start getting yourself really, really organized, if you haven't already, around all of the different tactics that you need to set up and execute in time to be able to have success in those last period of weeks where, generally speaking, it's chaotic. Certainly, we're speaking to candidates every day, and they're feeling the heat as they're trying to close out their campaign strong. And there are a lot of things to do, right? You have to raise the last resources. I know we'll talk fundraising a little bit here, but it's not just about raising money. It's about raising support from in all of its different shapes and sizes from all of the people that you've met along the journey, reminding them to vote, making your touches, knocking on doors, attending events. I think all of this stuff is really gearing up right now, and I'm excited to just dive in to talk about, well, how does a candidate sort of nail the landing in the last several weeks of their campaign to be able to, when polls close, feel really, really confident in their position and hopefully bring home as many wins as they possibly can.
Definitely, yeah. I've always kind of gone through the motion and the understanding of, the last moment starts Labor Day. That's when you're really making those final push. You're making those asks of people around you, your supporters, your donors. You're knocking on those doors. But the last moment doesn't end until that last vote is actually put in. That last person leaves that polling station. That's when that moment ends. And I think it's always of importance to make sure that that is a fundamental belief within you. It's never too late to take that action, to make that ask, to host that event. You want to make sure that you are meeting your voters, your supporters where they are and when they're available. And I think that's always something that we need to move forward with. We're about 5 weeks out. You've got plenty of time. But within that time, you want to make sure that you're being effective and actually being able to reach those supporters, those voters in those different places. And with that, I kind of want to also transition more into the topic of today. Jared, we've talked over the last few weeks a lot about the idea of fundraising. Fundraising is a major component within campaigns. Both of our companies want to make sure that people are able to use our tools to run these campaigns without having to fundraise millions and millions and millions of dollars. We want to make sure that we can actually make an impact no matter who we are. And with that, what are your core kind of components in designing a playbook with that fundraising kind of in mind in these last few weeks? What's important to you? What are the kind of the core components that you want to focus on as we're getting into that last moment?
Yeah, I think the candidates that I've worked with who are really trying to stick the landing, this thing that separates them from the candidates who maybe struggle is that they have a really clear and actionable plan where they're not just saying, hey, on November 5th, I want to have this done, but they're setting goals for themselves along the way. So if that's a financial goal, right, and like you alluded to, we're trying to make it possible for people to have success. Sorry, my dog is going crazy in the background if you can hear it. What we're trying to do is make it possible, and we're fortunate to be in a position where the overwhelming majority of the races that we're working on this year are those local school board and city council races where you don't have to talk about raising tens of millions of dollars to compete. But the candidates that we're working with and trying to help them shape their strategy in the final days is set goals. So if you need to raise, let's say, $5,000 from now until election day, or you need to spend $5,000, I should say, to be able to get out the vote. What does that look like? It's not saying, hey, on October 15th, I'm just going to snap my fingers and everyone is going to start giving me resources on the day I ask for it. But it's about setting goals. This week, I'm going to try and attend an event or organize an event that brings in $500 from 50 people. Or I'm going to go out and send a couple of emails to people in my network who I know are going to support me. Or I'm going to try and organize small little like meet the candidate events, and maybe if I raise a couple of bucks there, that's going to chip away at this bigger goal. But I think whether it's fundraising or really even anything in a campaign, it's just about setting milestones along the journey. You've got 5 weeks. Each week is an opportunity to move the chains. And the candidates who have success are really thinking about those micro goals along the entire route. Each weekend, this is where I'm going to be when I wake up on Monday and it's a new week. I'm setting actionable goals that I can action against, and they're gonna hopefully achieve them and then even exceed them by just being really regimented and diligent in attacking each goal. Leaving no stone unturned, whether it's to meet a voter or bring in the bucks that you need to spend to get out the vote. Just being really relentless in the goals that you set for yourself and achieving them.
Perfect. Yeah, I completely agree. I think, what you kind of indicated there is being able to meet those voters, have those events, and kind of be in those places of importance as you're kind of gearing into election day. And, I think an important component, an important thing they always think about when running these different campaigns, and, whether it's a school board race all the way up to a state house race, to a U.S. Senate race, whatever it might be, is that fundraising really is the means to meet those voters, whether it is the means to host and have an event, to have lawn signs, to be able to have gas money so that you can go door knocking. I always used to say that we would fundraise towards the end of campaigns so that we could actually pay the phone bills that we rose so high from making so many phone calls, or so we could actually, give organizers or our family and friends that are helping us knock doors sandwiches after we were going out and knocking doors all day and are exhausted. And
Right.
that's the things, those actionable kind of lenses that you talked about are always of importance. And as we're in those last final weeks, I think it's really, really a key component to be able to focus on, is being able to meet those voters. And the way that you're able to do that is making those actionable asks with that fundraising push. And along those lines, we talk about some of the smaller races, but even if in some of the larger races, I know being able to reach out to people and personalize is always something that's important when you're making asks, asks to volunteer, asks to support, to donate, whatever it might be. So, Jared, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about your what you've experienced with your own background, both at goodparty.org, but also in your campaign life, with the importance of kind of personalization when you're making these different asks and different capabilities.
Yeah, and you really nailed it. I mean, the idea of being comfortable making an ask, and when we talk about resources, and we're trying to make people matter more than money in our democracy, while still acknowledging that it does take resources to run a campaign. The whole focus is, well, how can you put a candidate in a position of success, especially a first-time candidate, to feel comfortable asking for support in all of its different shapes and sizes, right? Because I think naturally raising money is an uncomfortable subject for candidates. I think any of us on this call who worked with a political candidate, or I see some of our candidates on this call right now. I'm sure if you can chime in through the chat, I imagine raising money is the least favorite part of the job. But making an ask is not just about asking for money in the bank. It's also for asking for support or people's time, right? And the more comfortable you are at just putting yourself out there, and making sincere asks of people, the more success you'll have, not just in closing the gap on fundraising, but also getting people to take the actions to knock on doors or to go vote for you at the polls on election day. And so, I mean, I think personalization is hand in glove in that, right? I think looking someone up or looking someone in the eye and being confident and saying, hey, I've known you for a long time. If it's a friend, a family, a colleague, reaching out, being comfortable, just making an ask of them at all, but also making it clear that their contribution in whatever shape it's going to be is going to be valued. And also, I think very specifically, a personalized ask entails not just like, hey, we've known each other for a long time, but also exactly what you're looking to get out of a person, right? So if it's a financial ask, there's something much more powerful about saying, hey, would you be willing to give 25 bucks to my campaign by Friday the 27th versus, hey, would you consider giving any sum of money at any time to my campaign? And helping people understand there's urgency, there's a very specific ask made to a very specific person at a very specific time for a very specific need is what really drives success, again, for fundraising, for voting, for volunteering. I think that's one of the big takeaways I would implore candidates to leave here with is just specificity, personalization, and just the forcing yourself, if you're not already comfortable, to understand that it's part of the job of putting yourself out there and making asks of people.
Exactly. Yeah. I always, in my campaign experience, always thought about it in kind of five different questions, right? Who are you asking? Why are you asking? How are you asking? What are you asking? And then that like key component that we don't think about enough is when are you asking? All of those kind of major elements are key when you're making any type of ask. And I think having an understanding of who the individual is and maybe what exactly you're asking for, whether it is $25, let them know why you're making that tough ask. May let them know and bring them into that conversation. It shows that authenticity. It shows that real beauty within the struggle of campaign life,
Yeah.
and being able to run these campaigns. And I think there's such an importance to that that really needs to be addressed. The personalization is something that we're going to talk a little bit more about when we're going through kind of our demo phases. But it's something that is so critical in all forms of campaigns, whether you're running for the first time, whether you run multiple times, keeping those relationships with those stakeholders in a variety of different ways is always something that's going to be important. One note I always love to bring up. I am a kid from Boston, so I love to bring up. There is a mayor in Boston, Mayor Menino. He was in charge for a lot of years, and one of the beautiful parts about Mayor Menino is, fortunately, when he passed away, they said 80% of the city had met Mayor Menino, meaning that 80% of the people had seen him, talked to him, shook his hand, and allowed for that personalization, those real asks, and those real relationships to build. And I think there's such a beauty in that. And that should be kind of seen in all different forms of campaigns, no matter how small or how large that might be.
The
So,
last
oh, yep.
Sorry, the last piece that I think fits hand in glove, and it's easier to say from the people who aren't actively running, right, is that it's important not to get discouraged. And I think that there's a tendency for candidates when they make asks of their friends, their families, people they're just meeting, to sort of back off a little bit too quickly. If someone says, "Okay, yeah, I'll do something," or maybe they say commit to something, but they do it in a way that doesn't, inspire confidence that it's going to get done. And the candidates I've worked with, many of them have learned this along the journey. You often have to ask more than once to get something out of somebody. And the candidate who sort of just packs up and goes home after they ask one time and they get a yeah, sure, but nothing comes of it, is probably not going to get a whole lot of time, energy, or support from the person they're asking for. And it's okay. People have lives, right? Especially this time of year. People are going back to school, kids are back to school, work is heating up again. If you send a passive email or you make one phone call to someone and say, hey, it'd mean a lot to me if you gave 25 bucks on Friday, and they say, sure, I'll do it, and then they don't. I think sometimes the tendency is to say, okay, they clearly just don't want to support my campaign, when in reality, it's probably something as simple as they forgot, or they were going to do it and they just got distracted, and they won't resent being reminded, right? I have stories from the campaign trail about someone who asked a local business leader if he'd make a contribution to his campaign. They said, yeah. And it took 13 more asks before the guy finally made a contribution. But by the time he did, he didn't just, give some cash. He hosted events and he brought 15 people to the polls because he had a big family. And he, knocked on doors and wore the t-shirt loud and proud. So it's okay to ask more than once. In fact, it's probably going to be something that it happens more often than not. And the candidate who understands that and refuses to sort of get discouraged or take it personally is probably the candidate who's going to have the most success.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep asking and keep asking, right? You want to keep that kind of momentum, that energy up throughout your entire cycle, your entire campaign, no matter how long and grueling it might be. So perfect. Well, thank you so much for answering all my questions, Jared. I appreciate it. I think what we're going to do now is we're actually going to, kind of transition into a little bit of a demo. The idea here is that you all have heard us talk a little bit about fundraising, talk a little bit about Nation Builder and GoodParty.org. But what we want to do is actually show how those two can really work cohesively together. So I'm actually going to pass it on over to Jared. Jared's going to share his screen. I'm going to walk through some kind of core elements within GoodParty.org, and then I'll share my screen and we can talk a little bit about Nation Builder, and then you all can kind of see that intersection in real time. So Jared, take it away.
Happy to do it. And I'll preface this by saying that we're sort of using me as a guinea pig, as if I was running for office. I live in New York City. It's a tough time to be running for office in New York City, given the news of the day involving our mayor. But maybe that means that we need an independent, people-powered, and anti-corruption candidate in these trying times. So happy to step forward and, and lend my my background into this demo. But unfortunately, I'm not running for office this year. What I will say is when candidates come on goodparty.org's platform, the very first thing they'll see is this dashboard button. And if you've not already upgraded to goodparty.org Pro, this is a moment we encourage you to do it, because it puts all of these different pieces of the puzzle together. You'll be able to not just use the AI tools that we'll demonstrate in a moment, but you'll be able to pair them together with data and with access to things like peer-to-peer texting or door knocking to be able to achieve your voter contact goals and have success on election day. I've already upgraded in this demo, so this is sort of what it looks like, but you'll see there's a whole suite of tactics that are enabled through this tool that we encourage all of our candidates to take advantage of. Specifically on fundraising, there's two things that I think are really valuable to understand. So the first is that access to voter data is sort of the benchmark build of any political campaign, right? Understanding who lives in your community and what are the different ways I can potentially reach them. Using goodparty.org's tools, you're able to not just pull voter data in sort of a generic form off of our platform for use, but you can actually create customized files based on the people that you are believe or know will already be supportive of you, or people that you need to persuade to get out to vote, and custom make it for any different shape of purpose, right? So let's say I'm running in New York and I want to do a door knocking campaign, and the purpose is to get out the vote. I can now pull a very specific custom file. So let's say I want the super voters and the people who are likely to vote and maybe vote only a quarter of the time, as well as those first-time voters who are independent between the ages of 18 to 25. I can create this voter file. And rather than having to talk to someone like me in my past life to slice and dice their voter file, it's going to be custom made for you in just a minute. And then you can take that, and when we pass the baton to Nation Builder, they can actually show you what you can do with the voter data when you upload it into a platform and cross-reference it against maybe data you have from elsewhere. The other thing that is really important is that we have this AI campaign tool that really functions as a campaign co-pilot. So if you've never run a campaign before, it's overwhelming. And a lot of times, the things that candidates spend their time doing behind a computer screen takes up a lot more time than maybe it should. And that's time that you can't get back going out into the field and knocking on doors and meeting those voters that you'll need to ultimately convince to vote for you. So we've tried to take that sort of pain point out of the equation by coming up with a series of different templates that our AI can build around to help candidates get custom content to be able to achieve all the different sort of functions and features that a campaign requires, whether that's voter registration information, contact, community event invitations, video scripts, meet and greet event assets, peer-to-peer text messaging, press releases, the list goes on, and it also includes collateral for fundraising. All you'd have to do is click this button and it would create custom content with a little bit of context that you can always edit later once you've sort of seen what the shape and size it's supposed to take. So I've done one for this demonstration. I'll click into it and you'll see right away, this is an AI generated campaign content that I've edited a little bit around the edges. Generally speaking, we say it'll get you about 80, 85, sometimes is close to 100% of the way there. But it's critical that a candidate, is reviewing this information before they distribute it, because no piece of technology knows you better than yourself. What you'll see right away is this is an email that I could conceivably send to my friends and family, people who've maybe already contributed to my campaign in the closing stretch. I am trying to help them understand that we're there, we're in the moment. All we need to do is raise a few more bucks to be able to get across the finish line. There's a goal that's established that I think is important. We're saying by the end of this month, here's what we're looking to raise to be able to spend the resources that we need to spend in order to get across the finish line. And one thing that I particularly like is it actually broke it down to sort of magnify the power each person has on the email itself, right? That if each person receiving this email contributes a very small, relatively small amount of money, that goal is going to be met. We are not a distributor. That's something that you guys, I think, know better than us. But presumably a button would exist right here, so someone could click into a NationBuilder fundraising page and be able to take the baton and run with it. But the idea from our end is, while we're not a fundraising platform, we're trying to help sort of ease the restrictions on a candidate who would think, hey, I've never written an email asking for resources before. I don't know how to do it. I'm maybe uncomfortable asking for money. This email was written and generated by our AI, and a candidate on this call who isn't already on NationBuilder could take it and then kick it over to Jordan, who can show you exactly what you could do with it from there.
Exactly. So as Jared just, perfectly kind of stated, within NationBuilder, you do have the ability here to be able to use those different tools from GoodParty and really put them into direct action. Meaning that data that we were able to actually pull that voter file, we have the ability within NationBuilder to directly import that. Now, I do want to preference and just state, just so you all are aware, within NationBuilder, before you start engaging an audience, you will need those individuals, those voters, to be opted in to communication. But you can import that voter data file that Jared was just able to pull right on into NationBuilder, and you can have your voter list right there, where you can start to actually manage your individuals, your supporters, your voters, your donors, whomever it might be, in one place, which is within our people section. Now, within our people section, you have the ability to actually filter your audience, meaning that you can just, import a big list like I have of 12,540 individuals. But you can also narrow that list down. So when you want to engage an audience with the beautiful AI script that we just saw, you can be able to use that and actually engage the people that you want to get in front of. So we're going to just kind of hop one slide over, and I'm actually going to show you a filter that I've already run. Now, within this filter, I was able to pull anyone who has donated over $100. And then additionally, anyone who isn't a volunteer actively with our campaign, Jared for City Council. And then additionally, anyone who has already had a tag. And what we deem as a tag is a way of grouping individuals together. It's a great way of actually being able to give a virtual, basically yellow sticky note to an individual. So you can put them into different groups. And then anyone who does have that 2024 donor or maybe a major donor tag that you've given to them. So with this kind of filter that we run, we started with that 12,540 different individuals in one place. And now we've actually narrowed that audience list down to 19 people. And we saved that into a filter, which we have called our Fundraising September 2024. So what I'm going to do is actually move on over from this kind of different segmented list that we've created into our communication suite. The idea here is we're actually going to use that content that Jared and the AI were able to produce for us, and we're going to send this email blast out to this group of 19 donors that we currently have to make this ask if they will actually donate. At the end of September, with this last kind of push we have before Election Day. So I'm going to move on over into the next phase within NationBuilder, which is going to be your communication suite. Now, I've already kind of drafted this, but I'll show you how to be able to build an email within NationBuilder. Here, if we hop on back, we can choose our different themes. Within NationBuilder, we have a variety of different themes, stock themes that you can be able to choose for your campaign. So whether those are, drag and drop email editors that you want to be able to use, or maybe they're just kind of basic stock themes. You're able to utilize these to engage your community, your supporters, your donors in a variety of different ways. So we're going to click on that first one and hit save and continue. Next is where we're actually going to be able to kind of create the beginnings of that email that we're going to send out. So here we've named it internally, just kind of a fundraising push leaning into October 2024. We have our subject, which is just closing out this historic campaign. In description, I've just marked this as an outreach. This broadcaster that you'll see here, where it says choose a broadcaster, what we like to say is that this is just a different voice for your campaign. So whether this is from your campaign and it's a hello at Jared for City Council, or maybe it's Jared personally reaching out to these individuals, it's really just a different voice that you can use for your different campaign. We can hit save and continue. And now we're actually going to be able to see what our content looks like. So we'll move on over. And as you can see, the email that Jared produced is right on in here. We have the content. We have that it's Jared for City Council. And now what we want to do within Nation Builder is use the personalization capabilities. Jared really talked earlier about being able and kind of stating the importance of personalization. We want people to feel important. We want to make sure that they know the impact that they're making on our campaign. So first and foremost, what says dear F name, we don't necessarily want to see that. We want to say, hey, something a little less formal, or it says F name. We're actually just going to change that. And what we're going to do is add a smart field. Now, our smart field personalizes your outreach for the Nation Builder. What it does is it pulls your recipients on in, and it's going to take information from their individual profiles that they have within the CRM. So if we use the smart fields and we select a first name or friend, this is going to add this individual that will be receiving this as first name. So it's going to personalize this outreach when we're sending this in a blast to those 19 different individuals. And these smart fields can be added in a variety of different ways. If maybe later down in this email, we want to talk about, your commitment and your contribution to this campaign, we can actually add the donation history and the amount that has been donated by this individual in the past. So they know that we know the importance in all the work that they have done giving to our campaign and how that has made such a profound impact. This capability, these smart fields, really just allow these email blasts to look and feel more personalized because they are more personalized. I'm going to hit save and update preview. I'm then just going to move quickly on over into our recipients so I can show you all how we can actually pull in that filter that we ran from our database directly on in. So we're going to go into our filter, type in that fundraising. Perfect. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi is not working, so this is not updating, and I apologize for that. But this would pull those 19 people directly on into our email, and we'd be able to review and send this information directly on out. And the last capability I want to talk a little bit about today with the Nation Builder is the ability to actually build these action pages. Jared talked a little earlier about how you might be able to send this email out and link it out to a page. The importance of building action pages or entire websites on Nation Builder is critical. We know how important it is to get in front of different individuals. When you knock on a door, when you make a phone call, people are going to look you up, and you want to have the Jared for City Council website out there. And if you already have that, you also want to be able to take in live donations. So Nation Builder, you can host an entire website, or you can use Nation Builder as kind of action pages or donation forms. So as you can see, we have this Jared for City Council website that I've created. And if we click in to where it says donation page, we'll be able to actually build within this donation page. So here we can add our basics. You can attach an account so you can take live donations directly on in. And you can take in one time, or maybe you want to do reoccurring donations. That has the capability. You can accept different amounts that are inputted. You can add that other, so hopefully people donate maybe a little bit more. All of those capabilities are there. You can save those settings. And then I've created a quick little page so you all can kind of see what this looks like in action. So here we have our campaign page with our donation page right on in here. So hopefully Jared can fundraise enough so that Jared is able to then reach those voters, pay for those sandwiches and those different phone bills so that we can continue making an impact in our city council race and hopefully elect a new city council. So no, it's a lot of information. I want to stop sharing my screen and just kind of pull that back in and let you all know that Nation Builder, as we mentioned, does integrate and does work directly within with the GoodParty.org with all of those different capabilities.
Thank you both. That was great. Okay. Are we already getting questions? I love it. People are ahead of the curve. I wanted to know more about the text program and how to better leverage texting. Jared, do you want to talk through texting with GoodParty?
Yeah, we're driving texts really actively. It's a timely question, as I know tonight we just got out of about 10 peer-to-peer messaging while we were on this call. So it's something that we're really bullish on and believe it's important candidates take advantage of. The way you would access a peer-to-peer campaign through goodparty.org is if you're already a goodparty.org pro member. If not, again, it's a $10 a month subscription that'll last through the campaign. We provide a managed service at a rate of about 3.5 cents for a multimedia message, and then we'll do all of the text messaging on your behalf once you send us a script and sign off on it. So I think, Ryan, the question was coming from you. All you have to do is go into your account, hit the SMS get SMS targets button. You'll see an option to schedule. Our team, once you send the script, the universe of voters you're looking to send out to, and the date you want it to get sent, you'll get a reply from one of our team, one of the members of our political team right away. We'll work with you, go back and forth on picture, on wording, and once you approve it, we'll actually just take care of it and get it sent out, and then report back on how it performed. So it's hopefully a low lift thing that we've made available to our candidates. Again, it's something we're really bullish about. If you haven't already, definitely get into the dashboard and SMS a scheduling feature in goodparty.org, and we'll be looking out for you and make sure we can get one off the ground as soon as we see it come in.
That's great. Thank you. We also have a question on how can campaigns quickly build momentum and trust with donors in the final stretch? I want a sentence from each of you. Give me.
Ooh, a sentence from each of us. I think it's just constant communication and fully within that communication strategy, just being as transparent as possible, letting people know what the money's going to and how it's going to make an impact.
I would echo that for sure, and then add the best way to build trust is to invite people to things. I think that too often, I'm going to violate the one sentence rule. Sorry, Sorsha, to elaborate. But I think very often candidates will send, whether it's email communication or they'll make some phone calls. The dreaded call time is probably something that we all carry some scars from. And then they wonder why they're not having success. And I think in reality, especially after the pandemic, where we've all been kind of cooped up or coming out of that, I know it's been longer than it probably feels to me. But I think people really enjoy being invited to things. So a really great way to get people together and hopefully raise a couple of bucks, have an event, go to a local bar and set up shop and see if someone will let you, take care of a promo or a happy hour for something for an hour or two. And I think what you'll find is that people enjoy being asked to show up to something, and will have no problem making a contribution if they're able to spend time with the candidate, spend time with friends, meet new people. I think that's a really nice way to, achieve both goals of meeting people, building a network, and hopefully filling the coffers a little bit.
That's great. I always think back to fundraising as, yes, it is a financial ask, but when you are asking someone to give money, you're actually asking them to be a part of what you're building. And if you can do that authentically, whether it is hosting an event or communicating with them digitally, depending on your means, that's actually what you're doing. You're asking them to be a part of what you're building. Yes, there is a financial contribution to it, but try and let yourself break through the barrier where you're thinking about, oh God, I don't want to ask for the $25. You're asking them to be a part of what you're building in the future. Okay, gang. Any other last minute pressing questions that we've got in the chat? Yes. When working with limited time and resources, what is the most effective way to prioritize outreach efforts to ensure maximum donor engagement and contributions? $1 million question. Who wants to take it?
I can jump in, and I think I elaborated on this earlier, but I think that especially when you're in crunch time and you're doing a million things, the first thing that I work with candidates to do is to almost pump the brakes, take a second to get organized, and start thinking about how you can break down your goals into something manageable. I think you've got 5 weeks until election day, and if you're just circling on a whiteboard somewhere, I need to raise X by 11/5, you're not setting yourself up for success. So what I would encourage candidates to do is set goals, and then also think about your network, who already knows you, right? The hardest thing in politics, and probably in any industry, is to make asks of people you don't know particularly well. And I think everyone has got people in their corner, even if they don't necessarily think of them top of mind, right? So working backwards, I would go into a spreadsheet or something, or if you get into NationBuilder, I'm sure their CRM can help you do this. But come up with lists. Think of family, friends, colleagues, former, work colleagues, if you've been in a couple of different jobs, cousins, expand out the tent, and then be intentional. Think about what each person would be comfortable giving. That way you're not making anyone uncomfortable. Go into the younger sibling who's on their first job and asking for $5,000 is probably not a realistic ask. But I would make a list, think about the people who are already inclined to support you, and then work through it and say, hey, it's really important. If you're able to give $25, even $10 is going to go a long way, because here's my goal for this week. And if everyone can contribute just a little bit, then we're going to have success, and success begets more success and more confidence. And the last thing I would say is everybody, in that network probably knows somebody that you don't. So in addition to making a $10 ask, hey, can you bring 9 other people to an event that I'm holding? And if each of them, is willing to pay $25, and I'm doing a little happy hour, and maybe it costs me $15 per person, so I walk away with $10 ahead, you're expanding the network, and that really is how this thing compounds in terms of fundraising, but also raising awareness and support for a campaign. Is just making asks, growing the network, being relentless in pursuing your goals, and not being discouraged if it takes a little bit longer than you might have thought.
Definitely. I think that idea of compounding, compound your questions. What can you talk to multiple people about in one time and one sitting? Making that ask of, $25 to a family member or a friend or an early supporter, but then, compound that with another question of, all right, would you be willing to host a backyard event for me, or whatever that might be? Would you be willing to attend that? It's always important, if you have a yes, to continue moving with that yes forward and maybe seeing if you can get more. And then, additionally, with the Nation Builder plug, within our CRM, with those segmenting capabilities, you can definitely make sure that your VIPs are tagged so they're there and you can reach out to those individuals. There's different phases within a campaign. Early on, you want to have that persuasion phase. You don't really want to be able to persuade people at the end to start and becoming new donors. It's a little bit more difficult. What you want to do is try to rely on some of the other individuals to donate again, or maybe up what they already were planning on donating, and making those asks. And that's available if you do, use that segmentation within NationBuilder.
Thank you both. Yes, networks are brilliant. Actually, ask people to bring their friends. People have friends. Any other last minute questions? If not, I would love to just wrap out with kind of calls to action that we have for everyone here on the screen and virtually with us through the live streams. No? Okay. Tell me, how can I access these tools? What does it look like to work with you both?
And go ahead.
Perfect. Awesome. So yeah, if anyone is interested in kind of moving forward and exploring what NationBuilder can do with the work that GoodParty.org is doing as well, we'll be reaching out. But within NationBuilder, you can get started with a free trial and really just get moving. Within that, our onboarding team will be there to support you, get your campaign website up with the help of them, so you can continue using that data tools that you already had with Jared and GoodParty.org, and then those email scripts to be able to reach out to those people. So my ask is to take that action, take that leap, and make that decision to move forward with NationBuilder. And we'll continue to work within and reach out to you all so that we can make sure that you have all the tools you need to be successful in these last 5 weeks.
For those folks who are on the Zoom, for those folks who are watching online, I put in the chat, visit goodparty.org, go to NationBuilder, obviously, as well. We're eager to collaborate with everyone on this call and working in partnership between the two organizations. From our end, signing up on goodparty.org is really, really easy. It takes less than like 2 minutes. I've done it in faster. You can do it in 5 if you want to take your time. And it's totally free. You have an opportunity to upgrade to the pro tools. We're obviously really bullish on those voter contact solutions, but the AI is a powerful driver of engagement as well, and it costs nothing to make an account. So as you're in the final 5 weeks of your campaigns, it's time to really kick things into overdrive. I'm excited to continue working with you, Jordan and Sorsha, to help candidates achieve their goals. And yeah, thank you for helping us spearhead this tonight.
Thank you both. This was really,
Thank you.
really great. And thank you everyone for joining. We have a last question. As a pro member already, how much is NationBuilder? Jordan?
Yeah, so NationBuilder is a pay-as-you-grow model. So what that means is the amount of contacts or the amount of active emails, opted-in phone numbers you have will help determine what that price point really is. So Ryan, I'll reach out to you individually. We can talk a little bit more about the work you're doing and hopefully get you up and running as soon as possible. For more content like this, please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you're interested in building the future with NationBuilder, please check out and click on the link in the description below. Thank you for watching.